Good afternoon. I'm Crimson Skies, and I decided to make a new character in which I climb the ranks again. Gotta get that R255 after all. Now, one thing I haven't done in several years is look into the lore of this game, and I figure, since I'm going to actually max out an Enforcer and Criminal, I may as well take note of the tidbits given to players from the beginning all the way to the end. Maybe we'll learn something interesting. Who knows? So to start this journey, I had deleted all of my current characters in order to start fresh. Now, one thing I decided is that for the first 5 contacts I max out, I'll play genuinely as a new player, so I won't be claiming any of the account-bound stuff I have managed to acquire, only using what is given to me at the start, and then renting whatever weapons I manage to unlock as I progress. Now, the first thing really given to us is the introduction to our faction. For starters, I'm going to play as an Enforcer for this video, so I'll just show the Enforcer intro.
Sanparo, your city and it needs your help. That's what the City Security Act is all about. Giving us the power to become enforcers and defend our city. We know it's rough out there, so you'll be licensed for the full use of force. Lethal or non-lethal. The choice is yours. You can operate however suits you best, working with contacts on the street, or dealing with criminals your own way, wherever and however you see them breaking the law. As an enforcer, performance is everything. Be careful though. We're here to make the streets safer for decent people, not more dangerous. And don't forget, organizations like the Praetorians and the Prentice Tigers make useful allies. Their street-side operatives provide support and supplies to friends and associates. Getting to know these contacts may be the key to surviving as an enforcer. CSA licensed enforcers. Doing something today to ensure a safer Sanparo tomorrow.
Beyond the intro, you can read a little about the Enforcer background, which more or less says your background doesn't matter, you went through some level of rigorous training, and now you work alongside the Prentice Tigers or Praetorians to try and reclaim the city for the people. A couple interesting things mentioned here is that you can see the CSA document down in City Hall, and that the CSA are headquartered out of Forsh Bank. I'll have to check it sometime later if those two things are actually found in game or not. I think that would be a pretty interesting find and a cool bit of world building if they are actually in game. There is another tab I will go over here as well, the General Info tab, which more or less explains the situation in the city, where people are becoming poorer by the day, the wealthy are getting richer, and so more people are turning to crime. And because of how chaotic the city has become, the enforcers are now a thing to try and curb the rise of criminal activity. The only thing of note I could find in this tab is the fact that the Sanparo Police Department is more or less useless at this point, and so the only type of enforcement in the city is coming from the enforcers created by the City Security Act. Beyond this bit of information, I quickly created an enforcer and named my long-term character XXX Crimson XXX. Very creative, I know. With that done, I hopped in the game and quickly went through the mail to get rid of all the notifications and to look at the first bit of mail a new player would receive, excluding the Valentine stuff, of course. Admittedly, I remember the mail having a lot more lore than what it has nowadays, which more or less talks about a tutorial system that isn't even in the game anymore. You used to do a couple of missions with a character called Wilson LeBoyce, who's nowadays more or less just kind of there with no purpose in the game anymore. But before we move on and completely forget about him, let's go over his background. Wilson LeBoyce was at one point a car thief gangbanger who ended up getting caught. The Praetorians paid his bail, putting him under their control, to which they then tested him to see if he was capable of turning his life around. He succeeded where many had failed, and now works for the Praetorians. It goes into detail about what Haviland was like and that he still goes back there to try and convince others not to go into the criminal route. A couple interesting notes here, though. His bio mentions a character named Heya Choi, who is the creator of the program that brought LeBoyce into the Praetorians, and that she is hoping to overtake Justin Tang's master plan, more or less hinting a potential power struggle within the Praetorian organization. But we'll have to see when we eventually meet these people as we rise through the Praetorian ranks. Now that we finished going over the starter contact with the enforcers, I decided to quickly do the tutorial to get my ammo supply. After collecting and equipping that item, I then proceed to do the next stage of the tutorial, which unlocks the grenades. The last tutorial I was interested in completing was the one in which I'm given a 10-day lease on a weapon. Having completed that, I chose the Obeer since the weakest part of the starting equipment given to new players is the ability to engage in ranged combat, giving me a more well-rounded option in case we ever get into some open terrain. With that out of the way, I wasn't too interested in continuing any more of the tutorials since the one with the option to get a permanent weapon is bugged with the ready up command. I even attempted to switch the keybinds, but unfortunately it still didn't help complete the ready up task for the tutorial. With all this complete, I needed to pledge to a contact, and since Lobois was with the Praetorians, I had decided to stay with that theme for the day and went to pledge to Ty Durant. Now, Ty is pretty funny. His bio starts off with him concerned about what world his kids will grow up in and him witnessing some criminal shooting at a school bus. Mentions a lot about him drinking at some bar at home, at bar or at home, watching the TV and seeing the news about what people are seeing, but seems to not actually care. But one day he finally decided to step up and do something about all the nonsense happening and signed up with the Praetorians. Due to him having been former military, he breezed through the training and now spends his days hunting criminals and drinking with his friends. And as you gain reputation with him and max him out at 10, all of his emails he's calling you buddy and seems to be having the time of his life. To me, it almost seems like he forgot why he signed up in the first place, but he is just a lowly agent with the Praetorians, so I guess he's not too important in the grand scheme of things. Anyway, with my contact pledge too, I was ready to start my first mission. Getting teamed up with Inirata, I quickly head to the defense location, spotting one of the criminals ahead of me. Seeing they took the long way around, I opted to take a shortcut, which worked out perfect, as I spot them just before they get to the objective, allowing me to cook a grenade and then clean up with the FBW. I then managed to find the other criminal outside. I wait a second to see if he pushes towards me, but he never did, so I fell down to check the other way to the objective and quickly find him. We then get in a pretty messy firefight, admittedly, but fortunately I won it. I head back up in the hallway to be able to get to either objective quickly and find one of them outside again. But this time I quickly clean them up. My teammate cleans up the other one with a grenade, and the whole mission more or less was a cakewalk, as we easily win every fight for the mission. Unfortunately, I die last second before the mission ends. But at least I got MVP. Getting Ty Durant up to level 4 and getting 2 mails from him. Both times he mentions his time in the service and how much he doesn't like criminals and that you two should go out and get a couple of beers. But beyond that, not a lot of interesting information, so we move on getting ready for another mission. Our second mission, we get teamed up with Inirata again. Our first engagement goes pretty well. The enemy gold initiated a fight with my teammate, allowing me to flank and clean up the kill. Unfortunately, he ended up killing my teammate in the process. I just wasn't fast enough. I ended up making a pretty big mistake and thought that the gold was the player who drove the vehicle over to the objective. And because of my poor train of thought, the silver snuck up under me and killed me, costing us that objective. Spawning back, I quickly run over to our second defensive location, but the enemy cars start coming around, and so I opt to stay hidden in hopes of maybe catching them off guard. Eventually they drive by, and I try to run up and catch them unaware. The gold, all admittedly, I guess, was hunting for me and caught me on the open, getting a pretty easy kill on me, but my ally managed to clean up both the players, so we were good for now. Running back to the objective, the gold once again catches me a little out of position, and so I try and play defensive while trying to take some pot shots in return. All they had to do, to be honest, was just blow up the vehicle, so my desperate defense was in vain as I helplessly watched it blow up in front of me. On the bright side, though, my ally cleaned up the gold, and I wiped out the silver before we headed to the next objective. Both us and the criminals managed to get there at the same time, but we prevailed in wiping out both without either of us dying. Something important to note is that this defensive location is one of the easiest on the map, so I was in good spirits thinking this may be the end of the mission. Eventually, the criminals came back and one had switched to a scout, so I decided to pull out the Obeer that I got earlier. Oh, shit. One second. One second. As I was trading damage with the scout player down by the gas station, my ally managed to kill off the gold, making sure this mission stays in our favor. Eventually, my ally pushes the scout, forcing him to engage, which was a really easy cleanup for us. Which immediately, after the gold throws a couple really good grenades, displacing me, but revealed himself to my ally as they ended up kind of just shooting at him. We didn't manage to get him here, but I was mainly just focused on surviving. However, knowing where he was, I quickly moved over to the stairs in preparation to fight him. As I waited for him, my teammate killed the scout player again. But as I looked away, the gold managed to push up and throw a pretty good grenade, hitting me directly and forcing me to find cover. But fortunately, he was so laser focused on killing me that my teammate managed to easily clean him up as well. Spawning back, I figured since I had died and that I had the Obeer, I could run up to the parking garage to give some good range cover of the objective as my ally plays close to it. But the gold criminal had other plans, and it seems like he waited for me around the corner of the Praetorian building, which really worried me because now my teammate is by themselves for an even longer amount of time. And as I spawn back, I sprint back into view of the objective, managing to catch the gold out in the open and killing him along with the silver, who was down by the parking garage. After the quick double, the mission had ended, effectively boosting my ego and getting Ty Durant to level 7, getting us one more piece of mail from him. This one was interesting. Shows his distaste of the corporate system and talking about how we enforcers are the last line of defense in terms of combating the criminals in the city, giving us a much more serious tone than his previous emails were, where it seemed like he was just having a good time. But with that, I was ready to try and max out Durant and end my day. Readying up, I wait patiently for hopefully another fairly easy mission. And I didn't have to wait long. This time, getting Kometa as my ally, I moved towards our defensive objective. Unfortunately, by the time I got to Objective C, the gold was already on my ass. So I chose to stay in my vehicle and wait for my teammate. Eventually, the gold got out and started shooting at me, so I got some distance and got out myself. He threw another really good grenade, which ended up killing me, but only after I killed him. Spawning back, I tried to get to the next objective, but they had already beaten me there, so I waited for them to leave and managed to quickly put down a silver. Eventually, my ally and I fight the gold, but he ended up slapping both of us. So we spawned back and raced to Objective F. But they once again had beaten us there. I tried to catch the silver in the open, and for some reason, I couldn't shoot him, even though my crosshair was visibly on his head. I still refused to admit I actually fucked this fight up. But spawning back in my vehicle, I get back to the same spot and absolutely mess up my aim trying to shoot the silver, getting myself killed once again. So coming back again, I opt to go up on the highway, finding that it's clear, and so I quickly grab the package and prep for the enemy to push me. The gold threw another pretty good grenade, but this time I was prepared and actually managed to dodge them. Once I kill him, I prep for the silver, only for his grenades to actually hit me, and so I once again died. As I spawn back, I run into the area, but immediately as I spot the silver behind me, the gold at that very moment ended up shooting me as well. So I quickly got killed again. Spawning back again, I choose to get up on the highway once again. But this time I decided to let my teammate grab the package so that I could take advantage of my location. But my teammate had different plans and decided to try and take the package to the street. I stayed up top, thinking I could at least maybe catch a player chasing my teammate, but they never actually did. So I eventually tried to catch up to them, but the enemy gold was already one step ahead and now had the package and an easy kill lane if I decided to push him. So I decided to wait for the enemy silver to push me so I can kill him. And then with the silver dead, all I had to do was wait for my teammate to come back so we could 2v1 the enemy gold. Unfortunately, I think he knew that was my plan because he decided to go on the offensive instead, throwing a grenade to force me off the corner. He then pushed up the highway to get to fight me. It admittedly took my teammate a little too long to get back to the fight, but as I came back, my ally had already killed the enemy silver, and we were putting pressure on the gold. But unfortunately, we just didn't have enough time, and we lost the mission. And because of my poor performance, I failed to max out Ty Durant, which means I needed to play one more mission. On the bright side, I did get another piece of mail from him, so I went and checked it out. This one was interesting. He mentions that people are starting to talk about me and that I'm starting to be recognized. Oddly enough, it mentions him giving you something, but I'm sure it's just the unlockable items that you get for leveling him. I don't remember if this mail ever gave you anything in the early days, but nonetheless, it is time to ready up for my final mission today. We ended up with not only the same teammate, but the exact same opposition as before. So I immediately wasn't too excited about this one. We all end up getting the objective at the same time, which allowed me to quickly kill the silver. The gold had managed to retreat deeper into the building, and somehow he managed to actually complete it without us killing him. But as I ran around, my ally was killed by the gold. Kind of around the same time I pushed around the corner. I did manage to clean him up though, but not without the enemy silver having come up behind me and immediately killed me in response. As I spawn back, my teammate does get the silver before he could finish the objective, giving us time to try and prepare. I wasn't too excited that my teammate ended up staying in the same place as me, especially with this being such an open location, but I did decide it wouldn't be a terrible idea for us to maybe stick together on this one. And even funnier, I end up kind of calling out what the gold was going to do. So my best guess is he's going to come from over there, go up on the around, and yeah, right there. Unfortunately, his his exceptional use of grenades really damaged both of us, and we were quickly cleaned up by him, costing us that objective. Spawning back, I managed to get to the next location first, but the enemy silver decided to stay in his vehicle and wait for the gold to come fight me before he got out. And so, of course, I ended up getting killed pretty easy. The enemy silver was out of position when I spawned back because he had just kind of pushed my teammate, so I managed to kill him pretty quick before continuing on to fight the gold for the objective. Which, fortunately, I beat him in terms of grenade use, hurting him and then easily cleaning up with the star. But all good things must come to an end, and the silver ended up running right into me, giving me kind of an easy kill, but the gold had kind of flanked at the exact same time, kicking the door open behind me and flatlined me, along with my silver teammate, allowing him to get the objective without trouble. So, spotting back, I tried to get to the objective, but the criminals had managed to beat me there, so I got out hoping to catch one out in the open, but the gold had flanked me as I pushed forward, and now I was on the defensive again, catching another exceptional grenade. Even crazier, I couldn't hear the timer on it, making me think he was using percussion grenades, but I'm pretty sure they're standard grenades. I actually still don't know, even after having watched it again. I just couldn't hear the ticker. I don't know why. And because I was so badly damaged, I was an easy cleanup kill for him. Yeah, and then I spawned back. Running back to the objective, my ally managed to kill the gold, so I knew we had a pretty good chance at grabbing the package. My ally grabbed the package but got killed, but I managed to clean up the enemy silver and then started heading over to the item. I ended up playing a really stupid play here. I thought the gold had started the animation of jumping over the fence, but he ended up just kind of baiting me out instead and quickly put me down. As I spawned back, I grouped up with my teammate to try and do another push in. We catch the silver by himself and kill him, but as my teammate runs around the corner, he gets shotgunned. I try and make myself known around that corner before trying to make a quick flank, but unfortunately, it didn't keep the gold's attention, and he turned around and managed to kill me as well. Spawning back in my vehicle, I find my teammate in the middle of a firefight, and so I finish off the silver before pushing the objective. But the gold was right on that corner, and very quickly killed both of us without much trouble. So, we spawned again, and pushed together again. For some reason, the gold was kind of in a really weird spot, and managed to kind of catch us completely off guard. I don't really know what happened, to be honest. Even on the recording, I never looked at my teammate, so I don't know what he was doing during that time. But yeah, he just didn't really return fire for some reason. Um, but because my health was low, I decided to just try and focus on the package and leave my teammate to deal with the gold. Now, this grenade is probably the best grenade I've seen from him yet. It's actually pretty crazy because he throws it before you even pick up the package, and yet it still managed to actually bounce off me. This legit broke me, and I mentally had given up from this point on. But I mean, I play, I try to push on, and I immediately get double naded right before the mission ends. But thankfully, I did manage to max out Ty Durant, getting his last email, to which he tells me I'm moving up in the world, and then he's part of the work I put in against the Crims. To which, after having read that email, I very quickly called it a day. So thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you like this format over my previous videos, and yeah, I'll see y'all next time. Peace, 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 peace.